Hi guys, I haven't been on here for a couple months. I've had a lot going on in my life, a lot of life transitions that I've been working my way through. So if you are new to my channel, welcome. And if you have watched some of my videos before, welcome back. So I'm going to possibly do a couple of book hauls here and talk about one book that I have been reading. I last week took my kids on a 3-day trip to Holland, Michigan. It was a much needed getaway. We only live a couple hours from there, and there's honestly, for kids, there's no need for some, super expensive vacation. They enjoy a getaway with some pleasant sights to see, a hotel with a swimming pool. So we had a great, refreshing time. While we were there, I messaged Johnny Keene, who I have been watching his channel for probably, I think, over 3 years. I messaged him that we were in Holland because I know that he lives in Holland, Michigan. He often talks about that in his videos. And he said, hey, I told him I wanted to stop at a bookstore that he often talks about called Blue Stockings Bookshop in Holland, and he said, why don't we meet there? And I said, great, that sounds great. So we did meet the next day, and he actually purchased a couple books for me and gave me another book, and he got my kids some goodies, so I was very grateful. I also got to meet his wife, Carol, who he talks about all the time. It was really nice to actually put a face to the name, because, when you hear somebody talking about their family in their videos, you always kind of like wonder, what do they look like? And so that was really nice. His wife is very kind, and so is Johnny Keene, and so it was just really nice. And then later that evening, after we did some other touring to the Dutch Village with my kids, we went out to dinner with them. And they so kindly paid for that dinner as well. So again, thank you so much for that. And I think the next day I ended up going to another bookstore that he had mentioned, the Book Nook. So I'll go over the books that I did get on that trip. One of the books, and I believe his channel is called Saints on Fire. I will put it down in the comment section. Or in somewhere down below, you'll see that his channel. I'll take him in that. One of the first books, this is a book that he purchased for me that I picked out. All That She Carried, The Journey of Ashley Sack, A Black Family Keepsake. And I don't know about you, but I love paperbacks especially. I'm just going to read a little bit of this. A brilliant exercise in historical excavation and recovery. Okay, this is just somebody's opinion of it. In 1850, South Carolina, an enslaved woman named Rose faced a crisis, the imminent sale of her daughter Ashley. Thinking quickly, she packed a cotton bag for her with a few items, and soon after, the 9-year-old girl was separated from her mother and sold. Keep in mind, this is nonfiction, so it is a true story. Decades later, Ashley's granddaughter Ruth embroidered this family history on the sack in spare, haunting language. Historian Tia Miles carefully traces these women's faint presence in archival records, and where archives fall short, she turns to objects, art, and the environment to write a singular history of the experience of slavery and the uncertain freedom afterward in the United States. All That She Carried is a poignant story of resilience and love passed down against steep odds. It honors the creativity and resourcefulness of people who preserve family ties when official systems refuse to do so, and it serves as a visionary illustration of how to reconstruct and recount their stories today. It sounds Really, really good. And if you ever get to Holland, Michigan to Blue Stockings Bookshop, they have very good prices. This was a used book. I don't remember how much it was because he bought that for me. The second one he purchased for me is one I have seen in the past. It's The Time Traveler's Guide to Elizabeth in England by Ian Mortimer. Let's see here. If there is oh, here we go. In the popular imagination, Elizabethan England exists as a country bursting into the modern age under the steady hand of Queen Elizabeth, a place awash in astounding discovery, military victories, and literary masterpieces. It is peopled with such luminaries as William Shakespeare, Christopher Marlowe, Sir Walter Raleigh, and Sir Francis Drake. But to reduce this extraordinary period of history to a series of events and accomplishments is to diminish the reality of the past. For the people who lived it, this is a time of profound uncertainty, racked with religious conflict and famine, where life expectancy barely reaches into the 30s and the Spanish Armada has not yet been defeated. Even the Queen herself faces multiple uprisings and assassination attempts. In The Time Traveler's Guide to Elizabethan England, acclaimed historian Ian Mortimer shows us that the past is not just something to be studied, it is also something to be lived. Using diaries, letters, books, and other writings of the day, Mortimer offers a masterful portrait of daily life in Elizabethan England, recreating the sights, sounds, and customs of the 16th century from the perspective of both peasants and royals. Through this lens, we can begin to understand Elizabeth's subjects not only as people profoundly shaped by the time in which they lived, but also as the people who shaped the world we know today and in turn make us who we are. So, obviously there's not really time travelers, but this is a look back at the past, and this is also nonfiction. So, Johnny Keene did give me this book from his collection, because I believe he said he had another copy of this, so I was very grateful for that. I have another book by Peter Ackroyd, so I did tell him I was interested in that author. I have not read that other book yet. It's something about the history of England, I do know that, in the Tudor period. Albion, The Origins of the English Imagination by Peter Ackroyd. With his characteristic enthusiasm and erudition, Peter Ackroyd follows his acclaimed London, the biography, which is another book he wrote, with an inspired look into the heart and history of the English imagination. To tell the story of its evolution, Ackroyd ranges across literature and painting, philosophy and science, architecture and music, from Anglo-Saxon times to the 20th century, considering what is most English about artists as diverse as Chaucer, William Hogarth, William Britton, and Virginia Woolf. Ackroyd identifies a host of sometimes contradictory elements, pragmatism and whimsy, blood and gore, a passion for the past, a delight in eccentricity, and much more. A brilliant, engaging, and often surprising narrative, Albion River reveals the manifold nature of English genius. So all three of those look very good. Thank you again, Johnny Keene at Saints on Fire. Okay, so I did go to, in Holland, Michigan, I also went to the Book Nook, where I believe, and his wife Carol had volunteered before. I don't think they still volunteer there. I know Johnny doesn't, but it's below their beautiful library in Holland, Michigan. It's like right across from Centennial Park, which is also gorgeous. It's one of the most beautiful parks. Anyways, their library's gorgeous. I went downstairs to the Book Nook, and I did find some books there as well that I wanted to read, and they were all very good prices. This one did not have a price on it, and they told me I could get this for $1.50. I've never read anything about this character. They called him Wild Bill, The Life and Adventures of James Butler Hickok. So, that one's kind of self-explanatory. I won't read the back of every single book. That might bore you guys to tears. But I got this for $1.50 at the Book Nook. This one still has the price on it, $7.50. This was one of the more expensive books. One Town's Extraordinary Story of Hope and Faith, A Stronger Kinship. I do remember reading this one. I'll just read that to you. 150 years ago, in the heartland of the United States, amid a rolling sea of racism and hatred, a community decided that there could be a different America. In this place, schools and churches were completely integrated. Blacks and whites intermarried, and power and wealth were shared by both races. In order for this to happen, the citizens of this place had to keep secrets, to break the laws of the world outside, to sweep aside fear and embrace hope. Fittingly, the name of the town was Covert. Now, an astounding historical detective feat, Annalisa Cox uncovers the saga of this place that took the road untaken. Starting in the 1860s and for decades later, the people of Covert, Michigan, attempted to do what then seemed impossible: love one's neighbor, regardless of skin color, as oneself. Drawing upon private diaries, overlooked documents, oral histories, and contemporary records, Cox vividly gives us intimate glimpses of the people who lived there, from William Connor, the Civil War veteran who went on to become Michigan's first black justice of the peace, to Elizabeth Gillard, who survived a shipwreck that left her and her family washed onto Covert shores, only to find she loved the unusual community she came to call home. This looks so good. So good. Isn't that an ideal society that we all, well, I mean, we have an integrated society now, but, you know, let's face facts, here in the United States, it's definitely not perfect at this time. There's a lot of problems, and this is an ideal society, in my opinion. It should be in everyone's opinion. Another one I got, I believe, I was going to look this up, but I believe this is Grant's, Ulysses S. Grant's wife. The Personal Memoirs of Julia Dent Grant. Oh yeah, it does say Mrs. Ulysses S. Grant. $4 at the Book Nook in Holland, Michigan. So this one is also self-explanatory, so I'm not going to read the back of that one. But I believe I do have a book on some of the women from the Civil War, so I do think this looks quite good. If any of you have watched my channel for any length of time, you know that I read a lot about abolitionism and abolitionists. I just have a fancy for that topic. I just believe I have, not to like sound like I'm bragging or anything, but I have an associate's and bachelor's degree in human services, so I've always been like pulled by the topic of like social justice. So that might explain why I like those kind of books. This one was $5 at the Book Nook underneath the library again in Holland, Michigan. Marching to the Drumbeat of Abolitionism, Wheaton College in the Civil War by David E. Mass. And that one's kind of self-explanatory too. One more book that I got at the Book Nook it was $3. The Remarkable Story of Three Dutch Teenagers who became spies, saboteurs, Nazi assassins, and World War II heroes. Three Ordinary Girls. Sounds really, really good. Take off my glasses here. I did order some books recently through thriftbooks.com because I've ordered a number of books from them. And so I had like a free book credit, which I think their book credits are like $5 or less. So I ended up getting my free book and ordering some more too. Because, you know, all of us as book readers, we get kind of into really collecting. I'm going to get a drink here really quick. All this talking. So this one, I read a book years ago from the library involving the Grimke family. They're abolitionists, I believe, Southerners who, I wish I could remember the name of that book. It was a historical fiction book, I believe, and I will go ahead and probably put a little note here of who that was. It was a good book. And it, like I said, it was a fiction book based on the Grimke family. This one is called Lift Up Thy Voice, the Sarah and Angelina Grimke family's journey from slaveholders to civil rights leaders, by Mark Perry. In the late 1820s, Sarah and Angelina Grimke traded their elite positions as daughters of a prominent white slaveholding family in Charleston, South Carolina, for a life dedicated to abolitionism and advocacy of women's rights in the North. After the Civil War, discovering that their late brother had had children with one of his slaves, the Grimke sisters helped to educate their nephews and gave them the means to start a new life. The nephews, Archibald and Francis, went on to become well-known African-American activists in the burgeoning civil rights movements and the founding of the NAACP. Spanning 150 eventful years, this is an inspiring tale of a remarkable family that transformed itself in America. Sounds good. Let's see here. Another one I ordered off of Thrift Books. Can't really read the whole back of it because it has a sticker on it. This one's called Women Warriors, A History. Let's see if there's something here. Let's see here. Women Warriors is something, the most comprehensive account of the female martial heritage available. Fascinating comment on the nature of gender. On the power, I'm trying to rip the sticker off, power of the warrior image, and on the image's source and history. Meticulously researched and exceptionally well-written, Women Warriors is both highly informative and unusually entertaining. This book certainly succeeds in demonstrating that the use of women in combat has not been as unusual as popularly believed, nor is it an aberration. So, that sounds good. Another one along the same lines. I also got this from Thrift Books. Warrior Women, an archaeologist's search for history's hidden heroes. After raising 6 children and working as a nurse in Idaho and a cattle rancher in South America, Dr. Janine Davis Kimball was drawn to exploring the worlds of the past. She became fascinated by ancient artifacts from the burial mounds in Eurasia, the deserts of western China, and the Black Sea Islands, where legend places the Amazon tribes. Intrigued and determined to see them all for herself, the author set out for Kazakhstan, a remote region hundreds of miles southeast of Moscow and halfway to Mongolia. On these high, empty, windswept plains, Dr. Davis Kimball began her own life's journey, an odyssey of magnificent discoveries that have shattered more than a few historical assumptions, including the origins of the Amazons and a legacy of fighting formidable women that is not myth but truth. The secret of mysterious mummified priestesses in China who were tall, auburn-haired, and unmistakably Celtic in origin. The real identity of the famous Gold Man of Saka, buried with telltale clues that made archaeologists had long ignored. The origins of the Irish warrior queens, whose sepulchres still stand on the lush green pastures of Ayr. In Warrior Women, Dr. Davis Kimball creates an exciting new global picture of a cadre of women rich in gold and gifted in knowledge. These unsung heroines now take their rightful place in the vast panorama of human history as nurturers, soothsayers, warriors, and leaders who repelled invaders and helped conquer new worlds. That one looks fantastic as well. One I did get from the library book sale recently, and actually I know I have, oh, yep, there they are. This was from the library, and my library sells books for like $1. This one's called Lucky Me. This is Shirley MacLaine's daughter who wrote this, Sachi Parker, with Frederick Stropel. It's spelled Sachiparker. It says, Lucky Me, My Life with and Without My Mom, Shirley MacLaine. And I had recently talked about this book, which I had gotten off of Thrift Books. And I know some people think she's like kind of wacky, but these books have really good reviews. This is one I've talked about before, but I haven't gotten into yet. Shirley MacLaine, Don't Fall Off the Mountain. And she has several books that all have good reviews if you go online and read the reviews on those. So, this one I got at our library book sale as well for $1. This is actually about Barack Obama's mom. That looked really good. Because I saw a video or something on YouTube about Barack Obama's mom. I thought it was really fascinating. So when I saw that, I wanted to get it and look at him, Barack Obama, with his mom. Isn't he a cutie? So I think that'll be really good. And so then I had to get this book because I've been thinking about getting this book as well. I know this one is about Barack Obama's father. I believe I remember hearing his mom and dad split. His dad left when he was pretty young. He was with his mom for a certain period of time, and then I think he was raised by his grandparents. I believe in Hawaii, if I'm correct, for a little while. And then he does have a half-sister, who I think it probably talks about in like both of these books. So, for books that I am currently reading or have read, I have been reading like bits and pieces of books, starting books, not finishing them, even like audiobooks. So I do have one book that I do recommend, and I will post that picture up here. It's called I Didn't Survive: Emerging Whole After Deception, Persecution, and Hidden Abuse by Naghmeh Abedini Panahi. I am not sure if any of you ever followed this woman's story, and her husband, who was an Iranian pastor, Pastor Saeed Abedini. Years ago, I had seen her on television. She was fighting for her husband, who had been put in an Iranian prison because of his sharing of the gospel. Well, this book reveals a whole lot. And when her husband, Saeed Abedini, was still in prison, it came out years ago, she had not been revealing what was really going on in their marriage. A lot of people, while she was fighting for her husband, like Franklin Graham, when she came out and said, well, first of all, they were all encouraging her to write a book about Pastor Saeed and everything that had been going on. And she kind of broke down and was like, I can't do that because I've been living a lie. And so she was so brave and so raw about her feelings. Really a remarkable Christian woman. This talks about her being raised in Iran. Her parents were Muslim and they moved to America. And then she talks about her family became Christians and how that happened. And then later she went back to Iran because she felt called to do that. And she met Pastor Saeed Abedini. And then it talks about their marriage and everything she went through. And it's just a remarkable book. It is nonfiction, and I love this woman. I follow her on Facebook, Naghmeh Abedini. It's just like it is spelled on this book cover that I have posted above me, and I suggest if you're on Facebook to follow her. Pastor Saeed Abedini has been in the news recently because Naghmeh has been posting about it. He is, I believe, remarried, and he kidnapped his daughter. And I believe I just saw that the judge said he had to give his daughter back. He just took her. And, yeah. And she has a lot to say about Franklin Graham. Let's just say I used to have respect for him. I loved his father, Billy Graham, but I'm not a huge fan of his, especially after what he did to Naghmeh and some other things that he's done. But I won't get into all of that. I'll try to keep that kind of stuff out of the video, but I'm not a huge fan of his. One book I'm kind of reading right now, if you've heard of Dr. Ramani Durvasula, PhD, this book is about narcissism. If you've ever had a relationship with a narcissist, this is a good book. I had my library order this book, as well as Naghmeh's book, I Didn't Survive. They ordered both of them for me. This one I'm still reading. It's Not You, Identifying and Healing from Narcissistic People. So if you've had any kind of relationship with a narcissist, you'll understand what I'm talking about. It's a good book. So, I did want to show you, give me 1 second here. Okay, I'm back. I wanted to show you some little trinkets that I got from Holland, Michigan when we were there, when I was there with my kids. This little trinket here, so cute. It's not very large, but I love it. And then I got these. This is a salt and pepper shaker set. However, it kind of looks like this picture I have in my kitchen of these row houses. I think that's what they're called, like side by side, and it's got like a lot of dark blue, and I thought that would really draw it out. So I kind of want to add that little bit of a theme in my home, and I thought that was really cute. So I just have that sitting with this little trinket. So anyways, I guess that's all I have for you today. If you are still here, I think this has kind of been a little bit of a chatty video, but I haven't been on a while, so I had a lot to say. So I appreciate you stopping by. If you like, you know, reading nonfiction or hearing about nonfiction books that you might want to read, or just finding books to expand your book collection, you know, follow me and subscribe and listen. I just do this for fun. I have always saw books as kind of an escape when I was growing up. You know, I grew up in the 80s and, you know, we had one TV in our house. My dad had Westerns usually running on it all day. And so, we either played outside or reread books. So I've always been like a big book lover and use that as like an escape from the world, and we have a lot to escape from sometimes. So anyways, thank you for stopping by. I hope that you like and subscribe and come back for my next video. Thank you very much and have a great day.